Hey everybody, just want to share a quick little insight from my study of General Conference this morning. I was listening to the April 1933 General Conference, and J. Rueben Clark Jr. had just been called into the first presidency, and he was giving one of his very first address. And to give some context for who J. Rueben Clark is, because he died in the 1960s, so most people don't know his name. J. Rueben Clark Jr. is probably one of the most influential men, if not top 10, in church theology and church policy and practice. J. Rueben Clark served in the first presidency for nearly 30 years. To give some context, President Nelson was called as an apostle 40 years ago. So J. Rueben Clark was in the first presidency for little under how long President Nelson was an apostle, period. And in this position, J. Rueben Clark had just been called out of politics. He was serving as the Undersecretary of State for Calvin Coolidge, and he got called in to church leadership. And one of the things he did was he went about and helped Marion G. Romney with really clarifying the church doctrine and teachings and practices regarding welfare and the importance of ensuring that our welfare practices as a church line up with the scriptures, because in the government, it doesn't. And J. Rueben Clark starts this talk off, his very first one, with that topic in mind. He talks about how the scriptures command us that by the sweat of your brow, you shall eat bread. And he says far too many people are trying to invalidate this commandment, either in government or themselves. That is not how it will work. It's not how it ever will work. And when we try to set up a government that does that, then the Lord is going to be at odds with that government. We need to make sure that our governmental laws are in harmony with what the Lord's laws are. But J. Rueben Clark goes on to talk about the fact that we must work. Work is indispensable to spiritual or physical progress. And this is the same as it is in the church today. Nearly 95 years later, work is still the fundamental difference between church welfare and governmental welfare. We don't just simply say, hey, are you looking for a job? Good job. Okay, go ahead and get your check. We are actively trying to help every single person on church welfare to get off of church welfare. But while they're on church welfare, they are expected to work to whatever degree or capacity they have. And that's going to be different for everybody. If I was on church welfare, I'd be probably doing some actual hard physical service within the community or in the church. If you are, 70 and bed rest, then you probably aren't going to be able to do a whole lot of physical labor, but you can do spiritual labor and you can do family history and prepare temple names. But the key is, when we think we can remove the Lord's command that we should only eat bread from the sweat of our brow, we are setting up to be at odds with the Lord. And so I love that J. Rueben Clark has this focus, and I love that this is the key distinguishment. When our laws are in harmony with the scriptures, we are blessed. When they're at odds, we are not.